When most people think of Dubai, they imagine skyscrapers that pierce the clouds, highways lined with supercars, and malls that feel like entire cities. But there's another side of Dubai that almost feels like a secret, quiet, golden, breathing with history. It's the side that tells the story of how everything began, long before there were towers of glass or fountains of light. And that story lives here in Seef and the old quarter of Bastakiya, along the gentle curve of Dubai Creek. We arrived in the late afternoon, when the sun was still warm but soft, casting honey-colored light across the water. The creek glimmered like a mirror of gold, small wooden abras gliding slowly across it, their engines humming faintly. On one side, the city skyline rose, tall and modern. On the other, Seef stood timeless, a labyrinth of stone-colored walls, wooden beams, and wind towers. Stepping into Seef felt like slipping through a curtain of time. The sounds of the city faded behind us. The car horns, the hum of traffic, replaced by the quiet rhythm of footsteps on cobblestone. The air smelled of cardamom coffee and oud incense. Overhead, strings of lanterns swayed lazily, their brass patterns scattering warm light across the walls. It was like walking through a dream, a place that existed both now and hundreds of years ago. We wandered down narrow alleys, their walls close enough to touch with both hands. The texture of the stone was rough, baked by the sun. Doors of carved wood stood slightly open, revealing glimpses of little cafes, art studios, and shops filled with old treasures. In one corner, a craftsman hammered softly at a piece of copper, shaping it into a teapot. The rhythmic cling-cling echoed gently, blending with the sound of the wind. Inside one cafe, the air was cool and fragrant. Shelves lined with clay pots and tiny coffee cups framed the room. The man behind the counter smiled as he poured Arabic coffee, dark, rich, spiced with cardamom, into delicate glass cups. "Welcome," he said softly. We sat near the window, the sunlight falling through the lattice in golden lines. Outside, a child chased a small paper boat down a narrow water channel. Somewhere nearby, an oud began to play. It wasn't a performance, just a musician practicing, lost in the melody. The notes hung in the air like warm smoke. As we continued walking, the golden hour wrapped the entire district in light. Shadows stretched long across the alleys. The walls glowed like honeycomb. Every surface seemed to hold a memory of voices, laughter, and prayers whispered generations ago. We stopped near a balcony overlooking the creek. The water below shimmered softly. A wooden abra floated past, carrying passengers wrapped in shawls, their faces peaceful in the fading light. We followed the curve of the creek toward Bastakiya, now called the Fahidi Historical District. Here, the streets grew narrower, more intimate. Wind towers rose above the rooftops, an ancient invention that once caught the desert breeze and cooled the homes naturally. Their shadows fell across courtyards filled with palm trees and clay jars. You could almost feel the lives that had once filled this place. Merchants returning from sea, families gathering for tea, children laughing in the sun. Inside one open courtyard, we found an artist sitting cross-legged, painting Arabic calligraphy on parchment. Her brush moved slowly, her expression calm and focused. She looked up, smiled, and said, "Every letter carries a soul." The sunlight filtered through the palm leaves above, dappling her work in patterns of gold and green. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Further inside Bastakiya, we explored a small heritage museum. Its rooms were cool and dim, filled with echoes of the past. Displays of old coins, spices, pearl diving tools, and black and white photos of early Dubai. One photo showed men standing beside their dhows, faces sunburned and proud. Another showed women drawing water from a well. I stared at those images, realizing that these were the foundations of the glittering city we know today. People who lived simply, who built a life from sand and sea. When we stepped back outside, evening had arrived. The muezzin's call to prayer floated gently through the air, echoing off the walls and mixing with the sound of rustling palm leaves. The air had cooled, carrying the scent of frankincense and grilled kebab. The lanterns above flickered to life one by one, turning the streets into rivers of gold. Seef at night feels alive, but not loud. The alleys hum with quiet energy. A family walking together, tourists exploring, artists setting up small stalls under the light. We stopped by a small restaurant overlooking the creek. The tables were lit by candles, their flames dancing in the wind. Across the water, the lights of modern Dubai glittered, skyscrapers rising like silver trees. Yet here it felt peaceful, grounded, human. Dinner was simple but perfect. Freshly baked bread, hummus drizzled with olive oil, and warm Arabic tea with mint. As we ate, traditional music floated through the air. The combination of sounds, the oud, the water, the laughter, created a rhythm that felt ancient and eternal. After dinner, we walked along the wooden boardwalk by the creek. The reflections of lanterns rippled on the surface, forming golden trails that followed the movement of the boats. I leaned on the railing, watching an abra pass under the bridge, its light glowing softly. Behind it, the skyline of downtown Dubai shimmered in blue and silver, the future framed perfectly by the past. I thought about how this city manages to hold both worlds together. In one direction, glass towers reach for the stars. In the other, sand-colored walls whisper prayers from centuries ago. And between them flows the creek, the lifeline that has connected people, trade, and culture for generations. A cool breeze brushed past. Somewhere behind us, a shopkeeper was closing his wooden door for the night, the hinges creaking softly. A child's laughter echoed down the alley, then faded. The sound of the oud returned, a melody slow and bittersweet. I turned to the camera and said, quietly, "People come to Dubai for the future. But if you want to feel its heart, its soul, come here. Walk these alleys. Breathe this air. Listen." We stayed until the lights dimmed and the creek went still. The moon rose high, painting the old walls silver. The city in the distance sparkled like a different world. But here in Seef everything felt timeless. The modern world might rush ahead, but this place, this heartbeat of the old Dubai, still moves at its own rhythm. As we walked back, I realized something. Dubai's beauty doesn't come